So good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me yet another year. I'm going to kick off the day today with your annual presentation of the Permanent Unimark Committee's activities. My name is Florence Tfibel. I work at the French National Library, and I'm also a member of the Permanent Unimark Committee. Today, I'm very quickly going to talk to you first about the PUC's activities in 2024-2025, mostly the updates to the format and its documentation and its working groups. And the second part will be a presentation of the Future of Unimark project, which I have already talked to you about last year, and which has had interesting outputs this year, especially the results of a survey of Unimark users regarding the evolutions of the conceptual models and its impact on them. So, first of all, an overview of the Permanent Unimark Committee's activities this year. So this year, there has been 27 proposals that were discussed, 20 of which were accepted and published. Most of those proposals had to do with structuring and extending Unimark A to accommodate attributes and relationship elements aligned with IFLA LRM. But we have also had proposals which have nothing to do with implementing entity relationship models, such as an extension of field 011 for cluster ISSNs. So in terms of Unimark evolutions pertaining to ER models and RDA, more specifically, what I would like to point out is that all those proposals emanated from France and therefore had to do with making it possible to implement RDA-FR cataloging in Unimark. But every proposal has been discussed, and the Permanent Unimark Committee made sure that it was compatible with RDA as it is expressed in the toolkit. Things are progressing nicely on this account. There has also been a large amount of work which has been devoted to making it easier to propose evolutions to the format. So far, the bulk of the work has come from adapting Unimark for RDA-FR, but we have tried to make it as easy as possible for any other users and users of other variants of RDA to propose evolutions as well. So there is an online form for proposals, and we have also put into place a system whereby people can be helped by PUC members to formalize an evolution proposal in accordance with their needs. Unimark documentation has also been improved this year. So the manuals are published online since 2023. And in 2024, a lot of work has been done on a better workflow and providing supporting documentation, so version histories and so on. And we're currently in the process of getting endorsed by the Committee of Standards of IFLA. So that's a work in progress. So the Permanent Unimark Committee is organized in working groups and projects, as well as the annual examination of evolution proposals. I've already told you about projects concerning tools and documentation through the manuals and the form. We are also working with Metatech in IFLA to provide a namespace for Unimark, so that is ongoing. A lot of work is also going into mappings and harmonization. So there has been some work done on Unimark and an LRM mapping, which is finished. And two projects are currently in progress. One, which is a mapping between Unimark authorities, BibFrame, RDA and LRM for musical works. And another, which is a working group for harmonizing ISBD-M and Unimark with the ISBD review group task force. So this is to underline that work is also going into creating mappings in order to make Unimark evolve so that it is compatible with these other standards. Finally, one working group is devoted to the future of Unimark. Last year, it has organized the 6 Unimark users meetings, the presentations of which are available on the PUC website. And it has also conducted a worldwide survey, of which I will tell you a bit more later. There is also a web page, and I will be talking to you more about this project a bit further on. Right now, in fact. The general principles by which Unimark has evolved so far in terms of compatibility with LRM and basically ER standards were the following. Unimark is an IFLA standard, and as such, it has to be compatible with the other IFLA standards, namely LRM and ISBD. But as ISBD has taken some time to evolve to become compatible with LRM, so far RDA has been used as an intermediary to guide Unimark's evolutions. So as you have seen from the projects review that I gave you earlier, this is evolving. A lot of work is going into harmonization with ISBD for manifestation, which has been published last year. And we're planning to keep working on that. But RDA is also a very important standard, which we use as a reference in terms of making Unimark evolve. Within the format, the choice has been made to keep a single format with 2 cataloging options, a classic cataloging option with bibliographic and authority records, and an ER option, which allows users to create records for every relevant entity in the LRM data model, and potentially also the entities used in the cataloging codes. What has been left pending so far is the question of implementation strategies. So basically what we have done is make it possible to catalog in full entity relationship catalogs, which implement every entity as a record, or to keep the traditional way of cataloging. But what has emerged in the past few years, and also from the survey, is that there are other implementation strategies. I think we have seen a few yesterday. And Unimark has to take that into account in the way it chooses to evolve. So the future of Unimark was a project that was launched in 2023. I've told you about it last year. And it aims to facilitate exchanging, sharing, and generating knowledge about the future of Unimark, basically to provide help for Unimark users who wish to implement the ER standards. But it's also a project which aims to better understand the needs of Unimark users to influence the choices that Unimark makes in its evolution. And with that view, last year, between April and July, a worldwide survey was conducted to better understand the needs of users and the way they envision the evolution of their catalogs. So this survey had 69 full answers from 18 countries, almost always from national libraries and bibliographic agencies, and from different types of users: direct users of Unimark, which use it for cataloging or exchange, but also users of Unimark-based formats, such as Comark, for example, or CNMark, which look to Unimark to evolve. And also from respondents which use other formats, but have a need to keep updated on Unimark because they use it in an indirect way. So no surprises, most answers came from Europe, which is the main focus of Unimark use. What you see in red is the places where Unimark is used as such, and in orange, formats derived from Unimark, and in blue, other formats. So one of our first questions was which kinds of cataloging standards are used by Unimark users. Most use ISBD or ISBD-based formats, but a significant subset of more than 1/4 already uses ER cataloging codes, mostly RDA, which was interesting. Among the needs expressed by users, one of them was compliance with RDA with frequent updates, which in the context of EURIG, I think is interesting, and also better documentation, tutorials, and so on. Another interesting finding of this survey, which wasn't exactly a surprise, was that most Unimark users have no plans to change their ILS or technical framework. And if they do, it's usually for reasons that have nothing to do with implementing an ER model. So given what I was telling you about earlier, the fact that we have not taken implementation strategies into consideration so far in Unimark's evolution, this is a pretty big point and something that we will be taking into consideration for the future. So from this survey and also from the first results of the ISBD Unimark Harmonization Group report, we are planning next year to publish a roadmap for entity-based cataloging with Unimark. So I hope this is what I will be presenting to you next year. So watch this space, and if you feel that you wish to contribute in any way to proposals for Unimark to better adapt it to RDA or to the more general discussion about Unimark's evolution strategy, feel free to contact the Permanent Unimark Committee through its page or through myself, and we will be happy to discuss anything with you. Thank you very much.
Does anybody have any questions for Florence just now? No, we've got time to take it just now, Thurston. Florence, we have a question from the floor, and before we move on to our next report.
Thank you, Florence. I have a few questions about the development of Unimark. Firstly, your reference to ISBD for manifestation. Does this mean that going forward, Unimark development will take no account of the ISBD consolidated edition and the ramifications that has for punctuation of data elements? Secondly, in terms of the entity model, I noticed that the Nomen entity was absent from that. Does that mean that Unimark will not be modelling the Nomen entity? And finally, given the fact that Unimark is being developed in a RDA FR context, does that mean that Unimark mappings would not be suitable for adding to the RDA toolkit? Thank you.
Okay. So as far as your question about ISBD is concerned, the general philosophy of Unimark is that it's developed according to the needs of its users, any user. So if there is a need to develop Unimark for something linked to ISBD consolidated, of course it will be taken into account and it will be done. So we're not abandoning developments that do not have anything to do with ER standards at all. That is not at all our intention. As far as I know, in the ISBD review group, the idea was to stop developing ISBD consolidated and focus on the ISBD for entities for now. But Unimark does not have the same approach at all. We're going to keep evolving the traditional cataloging route as long as users need it to evolve, as well as developing the ER route. So I hope that answers your question. In terms of Nomen, so far the approach in Unimark has been to not treat it as a discrete record for the entity, but to deal with it in terms of access points and relationships between access points. If there was a need to create a specific record for nomens and to integrate that into the general structure of UNIMARC, it could be done. But so far, we have not found the need to do so. So the idea is that if it's possible to express anything in LRM and RDA and ISBD about nomens without having to create a specific record, we see no need to create one in UNIMARC as a record. And finally, regarding the development of UNIMARC being based on RDA FR, as I was saying earlier, but I think I went a bit too fast because the time was short and I felt I had a lot of things to say, so maybe that was counterproductive. The original need was that in France, we are big users of UNIMARC and we want to implement our new cataloging code. So we have been, producing evolution proposals massively and submitting them to the Permanent UNIMARC Committee. But the way they are submitted and examined is that any proposal that goes through the PUC has to be compatible with RDA. It does not mean that mappings are not relevant to the RDA toolkit between, UNIMARC and RDA. It just means that there might be gaps in the mapping between RDA and UNIMARC so far, because the only bits of RDA that have been actively developed in UNIMARC for now have to do with the needs of RDA FR. But this, can be corrected just by the fact that new proposals are going to come forward, and they're not going to be from users of RDA FR necessarily. And first of all, there are going to be proposals that have to do with ISBDM this year. So this is the situation so far, but it's more a question of chronology than anything else. And mappings should be entirely possible, and it's the objective.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Florence, for a very full update on UNIMARC. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Jenny, may I add something very short as member of the ISBD review group? The consolidated edition of the ISBD will remain, but will not be developed further on. The ISBD AM will be published hopefully next year, and then we'll start the second phase for developing ISBD for all LRM entities. And we have a fixed liaisonship between UNIMARC, between the PUC and the ISBD review group, so nothing will be lost, hopefully.
Thank you, Renata. Next up, we've got a report from the European BIB Frame Workshop, which Matthias Prostris is going to